Hello and welcome to 7th episode of Unproduced. As always, if you are listening, I greatly appreciate it, and if you have any feedback, notes or ideas, feel free to reach out. Topic of this episode is going to be when everything feels important. The core idea behind this episode is that modern life constantly tells us that everything matters. Whether it's every notification, every opportunity, every email, every idea, every trend, every platform, every conversation, simply everything seems urgent. Especially these days when it feels like that with everything that we see online, it often feels like that we are behind. Whether it's comparing ourselves to others, seeing how other people are doing, and just chasing that dopamine. I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. However, when everything feels important, nothing actually receives the attention that it truly deserves. And lately, I've been wondering whether the biggest challenge isn't finding more time. Maybe it's actually becoming better at deciding what actually deserves it. As I said, recently I have been thinking about attention, not productivity, but attention. Because one thing that I've noticed is that modern life constantly makes everything feel important. Reply to this message, read this article, watch this video, don't miss this opportunity, build this, launch that, stay consistent, grow faster. It's endless. I can imagine that you, as you are listening, and the majority of the audience of Unproduced are content creators. And these things that I just mentioned, honestly, I feel like I can see that every day. Whether it's when you're bombarded with messages online, which, let's be honest, often, I don't want to say in majority of the cases, I hope not, but often are just spam, unimportant, or just fluff. Whether it's someone trying to offer you something, pitch, whatever, or simply for some reason waste of time. I'm not saying it happens always, but it happens very frequently. But I'm not going to lie, I'm someone who, when I see that notification, I obviously want to get rid of it, or I'm curious to see what there is. So, yes, it's tough to keep your inbox safe or your inbox empty and just reply to those messages. Same with the article that I mentioned. I'm someone who's very curious, and when I see something that piques my curiosity, is the topic that I'm interested in, or simply something important, of course, I want to read it. I want to know more. But how many articles are there? It's endless, isn't it? Watch this video. Oh my god, I could be talking for ages about this one. I'm actually someone who really enjoys watching YouTube. And you know how it works with algorithm. I know it can be worse, for example, when you look at TikTok, Instagram, or other platforms. But even on YouTube, I think it's actually quite smart because when I start watching something, in majority of cases, I get good content that gets recommended, which I'm not sure if you can say about other platforms as well, but it becomes understandably rabbit hole, especially now in the age of AI. Sometimes it looks interesting, and then when you watch it, you find out that it's just another AI slop. So with the videos, it's a tough one as well. I also mentioned opportunities, such as build this. Coming to LinkedIn, you see people launching all kinds of projects quite frequently or regularly. After all, that's the platform that's probably the most suitable for this type of milestones and things to share, which, don't get me wrong, it's obviously amazing when someone builds something and I'll be excited to share it as well. But then it might make you feel like you are behind. So it was to build something. It's same with launching something. It doesn't necessarily need to be building your company or business. It can be even launching something like your services or some special offer or anything like that. Staying consistent, growing faster, and yes, it's endless. I think it's important to remind ourselves that consistency is different for everyone. I always try to remind people, find what works for you. The fact that one person is posting every day doesn't mean that you need to post every day as well. Don't forget that consistency and frequency are both different things. So yes, even posting 3 times, 2 times per week is consistent as long as you do it over long term and grow faster. Topic that is frequently discussed on my podcast, because we can say that a million times, but there is still going to be someone who wants that shortcut. So that's it. And yes, I've started wondering whether a problem isn't that we have little time, because maybe the problem is that too many things compete for it. The truth is that everything feels urgent. And technology has made urgency basically the default. Notifications, emails, LinkedIn, Instagrams, Instagram, news, algorithm. Everything wants our attention right now. I discussed those messages in more detail before, and now notifications, it's pretty much the same. I would say that it's maybe even worse, because obviously notifications can be from any app, so you actually don't need to open, I don't know, LinkedIn or social media to see the message, but you simply get a notification. Obviously, unless you disable it, which by the way, I would recommend in some cases, such as on your phone. Emails, another one. It can be spam. It might not be important, but still, I have that curiosity to see what there is. LinkedIn and Instagram, those are just two platforms. And don't forget, there are many more, whether you are also on TikTok, YouTube, Substack, Snapchat, I don't know what else. It gets even worse. News and algorithms. News is the same as what I discussed before with the articles or the videos, but it's understandable that one wants to keep up to date. And algorithms, oh my god, that's a... Whew, I think that's a topic on its own. Everyone is trying to chase it, whether it's on LinkedIn or other platforms, and also you know how cheeky those algorithms are when they simply try to serve you the content that you enjoy so that you stay there as long as possible. But the strange thing is that most of the stuff that I just mentioned is not urgent. We've simply become conditioned to treat it that way. Yes, that is true. And here are two questions for you. Firstly, how much of today actually mattered? Now, as I hear this, it makes me question how much of the time mattered for me as well. So take a moment and think about it. And secondly, how much simply felt immediate? Again, I think about my specific scenario, and it makes me wonder or realize that I don't think there was actually much immediate. So let these two questions sit for the moment and try to think about it. Which brings me to another point, which is the cost of distraction. And one thing that I've realized is that attention is finite. Every time I say yes to something, I'm also saying no to something else. Sometimes without even realizing it. I know now when I say this, it sounds obvious. But when you actually are in that situation and you are about to make the decision, do you really realize this? Are you aware of it? That's the different question. I try to remind myself quite regularly, and actually even made it like one of my goals to say more no's. Yes, I know. Now, when I hear it or when I say it and you think about it, it may sound a bit selfish. But really, think about it. When you say yes to something, it means that you are saying no to something else. And in the end, Does it actually matter, or is it worth it? Perfect example. Look at LinkedIn. People send you messages about coffee chats or one of those regular messages. Can I pick your brain for 15 minutes? I mean, we all know that it's not just 15 minutes, that it's going to be longer. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you need to say no to all of those. Of course, sometimes they are amazing people and it's definitely worth spending time together, trying to have fun, trying to meet others and network. But I think the question is, who are those people that you say yes to? Another example, as I'm speaking about this, is the podcast. Many people reach out to me that they would love to appear on the podcast. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy to hear that and I appreciate it. But the thing is that many people reach out to me, so I can safely say that I've got some experience and I know how it sometimes works. And imagine someone texts you that they would love to appear on the show, they enjoy it, they love the conversations. Simply then I ask what was their favorite episode. And you get super generic answer. Firstly is the latest one, which is one of the most obvious choices. Or secondly, I loved all of those. So don't get me wrong, it's not always the case, I know, and you shouldn't generalize, but mostly people just want free visibility, share their story, and just take advantage of it. So that was my example. And yes, I say more no's. Another thing that I always keep in mind is that I need to talk to people that I'm interested in and curious about. Because if it's someone that I don't know, that I'm not interested in what they do, and I don't know them, I simply cannot make conversation engaging or interesting. And then what's the point of doing that if obviously I don't enjoy the conversation, I don't find it as something interesting for me to explore? How's going to be the result? Is actually the audience going to enjoy it? Looking at it from this perspective, I think it really helps. So that was just example from my own experience. Let me give you a few more examples. It can be scrolling instead of reading. Yes, I know this one quite well when I scroll Instagram shorts or Instagram reels. It can be replying instead of thinking. I wish more people use their brains, not going to lie. It can be checking LinkedIn instead of creating. I admit I'm guilty of this one, and I hope that you are not. Next one, reacting instead of reflecting. You know, when emotions take over, we make some kind of decision and then sometimes regret later. So the cost isn't only lost time, it's lost depth. We become busy, but not necessarily focused. What actually podcasting reminded me? Podcasting has taught me something interesting. Good conversations require full attention. You cannot rush them, you cannot multitask, you have to listen. Really, listen. And it made me wonder, how often do I give that same quality of attention to my own life, to the people that are around me, to the work that I'm creating, to my health, or simply to being present? Let me give you an example. It happened a few times. I mean, I guess it happened many times. But anyway, during the podcast conversation, I was speaking with someone. And believe me, you stop focusing for a moment and it can be quite awkward or embarrassing. I'm not saying that I ever do it on purpose, obviously, but there are loads of distractions. It can be notification on your screen. I'm not saying that I multitask during the recording, such as replying to messages or anything, but sometimes I have LinkedIn open with the profile of the guest for any context, maybe help me with questions, or any additional information that will be helpful. I may get a notification from the recording platform. And trust me, that's very important. I had some negative experience when I ignored it, and You don't want that to happen again. Or it doesn't need to be with your recording. It can be outside. I'm not in a studio. I'm obviously in my, okay, I call it studio, but it's my flat. And there may be something happening outside, something in my flat, and you simply never know. Now let me give you a funny one. Once I was recording, I will remember that like it happened yesterday. I also remember the guest. We were recording, amazing conversation, by the way, I really enjoyed it. And as I was sitting, listening, I somehow moved my legs and I kicked the cable underneath the table. And I'm not lying, it switched off my PC. Oh my god, it was so embarrassing because I literally couldn't do anything because the whole computer went off. And that just makes you remember that not only that specific moment, that conversation, but not to do this again. The guest was amazing, great person. I genuinely enjoyed it and it was fun, but it's embarrassing, but it's fun, but you know what I mean. So these are just a few moments. Or I'm just a human as well, so sometimes when we are recording, I may just for some reason think about something randomly, whether it's context based on what the guest says. I may be thinking about something that I want to ask that the guest said, and it may just make me for a moment drift away. It just happens. And then it's hard if I miss the context. I don't know what to say next or it doesn't make sense. So it's super important. I could be talking about this for ages. So yes, I'm still trying to learn it and improve in this. And that's just me talking about podcasting. Imagine what it's like in the real life. Again, that we could be talking for much longer, but you know what it is when you're talking to someone and they don't pay attention. I honestly find it quite disrespectful. For example, when you go out with someone and they use the phone. Of course, it's different to use the phone to reply or something, but to be there all the time or simply not listen to you. So that's a big one. Maybe we'll expand on that in the future. This is important one, that not everything deserves a response. That's something that I'm still learning, because not every opinion needs mine. Not every opportunity is my opportunity. Not every invitation deserves a yes, and not every trend needs following. Sometimes maturity isn't reacting faster. Sometimes it's choosing not to react at all. There's real freedom in deciding that something simply isn't worth your attention. I can give you a great example. I remember, okay, I shouldn't say it like that because it might be obvious when I talk about something, but let's say there was a party or some kind of event, and I said yes because I really wanted to, whether to support the person, be there, make a nice gesture to appear there, which, yes, it makes sense because you want to make someone happy, but at the same time, you may come there and for some reason you may not enjoy it. Maybe you don't know the people, maybe it's not your type, maybe you are not the type of person to enjoy this type of events. And in the end, you just feel like that it would be better if you didn't go, if you stayed home or something. I'm sure that it happened to everyone. So that's one of those that not every invitation deserves a yes. Same with not every opportunity is my opportunity. Yes, you may take it and try to go for it, but at the same time, there are so many opportunities out there, and understandably, you simply cannot do everyone, can you? The big one, not every trend needs following. One of the topics that we discuss regularly with my guests on the podcast, like chasing the trends. Imagine you chase this trend and another one. Firstly, you're going to burn out because it's impossible. Secondly, how are you going to try to keep up? Because like trends are emerging all the time, changing all the time. Good luck with that. And next one, if you literally try to change everything, change or frequently update what you share or what you do, what you talk about, it's going to be super confusing to your audience. So in the end, it might actually do more harm than good. So these are just a few points, I think great ones, because it actually makes me think about it too, but hope it helps you. What is it actually that I'm trying to protect? Lately, I've become much more protective of certain things. Thinking, walking, reading, training, health, and long conversations. Just a few examples. Now, this is one that I wish I did more, but I honestly do not. But as I say this, it makes me remember. Hopefully, it inspires you. And who knows, maybe next time we'll do it, which is time without headphones. I know it sounds so obvious, but I can't help myself. But sometimes it feels like that if you don't have headphones, you are kind of missing out or wasting time. I know it sounds a bit stupid, but when you are regularly listening to podcasts, watching videos, or audiobooks, it's a tough one, let's be honest. But it's a good one, so I will keep that in mind and I hope that you do. Second one, time without screens. And now, I'm not talking only about your computer. Look at your phone. Maybe you have tablet. I don't know what else. And honestly, yes, I look at it all the time as well. So that's a good one too. Ironically, those quiet moments are usually where my best ideas appear. Not when I'm busy, but when I'm fully present. Example, when I cycle. Because when I cycle, yes, I have headphones, but at the same time, it gives me time to think because I have headphones. I guess sometimes it might be because of the habit, but I do not pay full attention to those headphones. But because I'm cycling, I'm not looking into the screen. Actually, it gives me time to think. So sports, I think it's a good one because it simply, I mean, yes, you can like put your phone on the holder on your in front of you, but still, sports for me, great idea. I recommend it. So what is it that actually matters? One question that I've been asking myself more is this. Will this matter next week? Next month? Next year? If the answer is no, maybe it doesn't deserve today's attention either. And that doesn't mean that you need to ignore your responsibilities. It simply means that becoming more intentional about where my energy goes. Because attention is limited, and once we spend it, we don't get it back. I know it sounds obvious, but it's true. It's same as with time. Time goes, and you cannot get it back. Same with the attention. I tend to overthink things. I think I spoke about it in one of the previous episodes. And is that overthinking time well spent? Probably not. So the question that I should be asking myself, is this going to matter in a week, in a month, even in a year? Usually, nope. So that's the power of perspective. One of the good ones is also just to remind ourselves when we look at the perspective of the population of the whole world, the earth, the universe, maybe the city that you live in, or just one person here. So it just helps with the perspective. Honestly, I do not do it as much as I wish I did, such as to remind myself this. So this is a good reflection for me too. So yes, be mindful with how you spend it. Let's slowly wrap this up. I don't think that the goal is to do less. I think that the goal is to become more intentional, to stop treating every notification like emergency, to stop believing that every opportunity has to become our opportunity, and to spend more time on the things that still matter when the noise disappears. So I'll leave you with one question. What has been demanding your attention lately that probably doesn't deserve it? Thank you for listening.